You're back for more of the three-man booth here on BuzzChomp. We are NFL Debate. I'm Dan Salem with Phil and Bud. Thumbs down for a reason, right? But make sure you subscribe. We're gonna talk NFL the season. I want to start with the Jamal Adams trade because I think it has big consequences throughout the league and what players are making decisions on their contracts. Bud, you got the strongest opinion of the three of us, and as a much more diehard Jets fan than myself, even if that's possible, I'll let you start with your thoughts on the trade. You've said he was going to be gone for months. So what was your first reaction? And
it didn't surprise me. I thought that considering his actions over the last week, I thought it was just kind of a matter of time, really, right? I mean,
so
you can't throw the GM, the coach, and the owner under the bus and then expect to get $20 million a year.
Yeah. Well, I was reading that the Seahawks
they can't afford him there anyway.
Well, I was reading that they had the Seahawks made an offer 2 or 3 weeks ago. So I'm curious if do you think that kind of affected them pulling the trigger, the criticism?
It probably helped expedite the process without a doubt. I mean, but Pete Carroll said that they've been talking for a few months, but he's been trying to get out of town for a year. I mean, and now all of a sudden it'll start to trickle out that he was calling players in Dallas to try to get him traded after last year's trading deadline fiasco where he cried like a little.
I don't like that. It's bad. It's bad for the team, right? Like that's bad for the team.
100%. And I told both of you last year that he was by far their best player. But if you could get 2 first-round picks for him, you ship him.
If you can get 2 first-round picks for any player, you ship him out.
You got a first-round pick, you got a third-round pick, and a starter. And you basically gave him up, which you save about $10 million on the cap this year. And you got rid of a 4th-round pick. No big deal. See ya. Bye-bye.
They didn't even sign him. Like, he could technically be a free agent. I mean,
but here's how douchey he actually comes out in all of this. Not only does he cry like a little baby and he gets his way, he then tells Seattle that it's okay, no big deal. I'm not going to sign a contract extension this year. So for all of these months, you bitched and complained to the Jets that you needed a new contract and you didn't want to play on your existing contract and yada, 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 and you blew smoke up everybody's asses. And then all of a sudden, you go to a viable team, and now all of a sudden it's no big deal. He just comes off as a crybaby.
We can argue if the Seahawks, I know they got Russell Wilson, but are they legitimately in a better position than the Jets? I mean, it's becoming a debate. Now, it hasn't been in recent
years. The NFC Championship game last year, Dan. So, I mean, obviously they do have some pieces in place that, I mean, if San Francisco was not as good as they were.
Yeah, I guess my look back on the season, it feels like it's ages ago, is that Seattle was a good team amongst a bunch of pretty good teams, and there was no great team besides the 49ers really that really asserted themselves. I mean, they didn't have – Seattle won. I think I was reading because they had all these statistics about when they made the trade. I think they were 9-2 in 7-point contests, like games decided by 7 points or less. They were 9-2 last season. That is unheard of. They're going to go 2-9 this year in those same situations. It balances out. It has to. So it was kind of unreal how many close games they won last year, which put them there. Now they achieved what they achieved, but Adams lobbied heavy for Bell to come. And then he lobbied heavy for himself to get out the door. I mean, good riddance, especially with – I'm going to transition right into it, especially with the outlook of the season, which may or may not happen. You don't think it's going to happen. Now we got all these picks for the future. What do we need him for? Like, we don't need him this year because this year is so uncertain to begin with. I want to throw out the question. Phil, I'll let you answer as a bipartisan opinion, I suppose. Is it better for Adams to play on his rookie deal this year, or is it better for him to sign the extension? Because a lot of these players are opting out so that their guaranteed money is deferred to next season. I assume that means they would lose it if the season got canceled halfway through, or it would be cut in half.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know what that whole money situation is going to be. That was the whole issue with the Baseball Players Association and the owners, and they were fighting about money. And I'm not going to pretend like I know everything about it. So I'm actually not sure what would happen for those players on playing on their last year of their rookie contract if the season gets canceled. You'd almost, to Bud's point when he said, "I want a new deal. I want a new deal." Well, what if the season gets canceled? Are they getting paid? I don't know. I know there's been a lot of talk back and forth about, safety provisions with paychecks, and I don't exactly know where that is right now. But
I saw it. The players that opt out are guaranteed 150 grand, or
Okay.
350, or 350 if they're like a medical high risk group, right? And I believe your paycheck is divided by the 16 games you play in. So I
Right.
think if they only play 5 games, they're only going to get paid for 5 games worth of game checks. And I think your guaranteed money is spread out over those 16 games also. So it makes sense if you got a $20 million guarantee, you
Yep.
don't want to lose half of it. That's what a couple of these linemen I was reading deferred their new contracts to next year because they don't want to risk losing it.
So it will be interesting to see what he demands next year when he gets when he's up for a new contract in Seattle.
Well, and the salary caps are lower.
What's their cap at? Do you know what their cap's at? With Russell Wilson got paid and all
Well,
those other guys.
From what I read, I don't think the cap is going to get adjusted too much. I think that they're really banking on network money and
Well,
sponsorship.
there's a new TV deal coming next year. So
Yeah, I think DirecTV loses the monopoly, so I think that there is something.
thank God.
Yeah. Oh, I know. So we assume Seattle's going to pay Adams, and he wants to get paid like the top safety in the league, but he has no leverage anymore. So he got what he wanted. He got traded out to a seemingly more competitive team in an equally as competitive division. I mean, Pete Carroll's great with his position, and they're going to have a good defense. He's going to be awesome. I'm not doubting that if they actually get to play it through. I don't see what he was really going for, except maybe he hated the Jets that much.
I don't think he wanted to play for Adam Gase. I don't think he wanted to play for Gase at all.
Nobody wants
drafted by Bulls. So
here's the thing: he wants to get paid like a quarterback, like a left tackle, like a cornerback, like a defensive end. You don't pay safeties $20 million a year. His name is drawing a blank, but the safety in Chicago who got paid like $17 million. That's a waste of $17 million. There's no safety in the league that is worth that. Okay. Unless you want to take his position and say that he's not a true safety, and then you're going to put him on the line more than not, which a lot of the times on the Jets, he was all over the place. He wasn't a natural safety. But at the same time, like, if that's your position, it's like tight end versus wide receiver, right? Everybody can say that Kittle and Ertz and I'm drawing the tight end from Kansas City. They
Kelsey.
Kelsey. Yeah.
Play like wide receivers, but they don't get paid like wide receivers, right? So it's the same concept. Like, there's no Russell Wilson is getting paid $30 million a year. Where is the money coming from? You'd have to cut people. By the way, they're going to have to pay some of their other rookies that are on that are coming off.
Yeah. I don't know where Seattle's going to find the money, and Bill Barnhill did a great article, and he broke down those positions and what gets paid by position, and safety's near at the very bottom, and it's like he wants to set the bar, and then he broke down the 4 deals where players got traded for number 1 picks, and by far Seattle overpaid the most for Adams without re-signing him. It was just definitely too good of an offer to pass up for the Jets, and they actually have the perfect defensive coach to cover this hole, especially with getting the veteran safety in return. I guess it's win-win because he was just making a mockery of our team when I actually think they're in a decent spot. Now, we wrote on BuzzChomp, we debated whether we think the season's going to happen, how the kickoff's going to play out. The Patriots got 6 players opting out. I think that players have till the end, like 1 week after the deal was signed, so till this Friday, so a couple of days from our filming here, to make decisions. And we're seeing more and more.
Although, did you see the names that opted out? It's mostly linemen. I saw Dante Hightower, but it's mostly linemen.
Those linemen in Kansas City and in Baltimore and New England are pretty critical protecting Mahomes
Well, yes,
Jackson and Cam Newton. I mean,
you're right. I'm so curious. I know there's a couple in baseball that said they weren't playing, but I can't imagine, again, depending on their money situation and what's guaranteed and what isn't, I don't know if that's clear yet, but I can't imagine any big name players opting out of the season.
yeah, I don't know if did they sacrifice money for lost preseason games? Because if they play the full slate, they shouldn't lose anything.
No, I'm saying like if they opt out, I don't know if if there's any financial hit. Listen, so the thing about the preseason games, we all know that they're a waste, but they're still fun for us to watch. They're still at least you want to see some of these rookies. You want to know what they're going to do. You're the guys you drafted, the guys we drafted. We want to know, are they any good? We're not going to get to see that, and it's gonna the first 4 weeks are usually tough as far as people are getting acclimated to new teams and new schemes. Now it might be 6 or 7 weeks by the time these games actually get really solid and not sloppy.
A quick go back. There definitely is a financial hit. The players that opt out aren't getting paid. They won't get paid this year besides the $150K minimum.
Okay, so that's what it is. So that's, I mean, listen, an NFL player's shelf life is short enough as it is. You're not gonna convince me that any of these guys should be like, you know what, I'll take a year off, not get paid, and then have to fight for my job when I come back. That's not gonna happen.
Yeah, and you know how many injuries we get in the preseason? Just like,
there's a huge advantage to not playing preseason games. I get it, but at the same time, it's we're used to watching. We're like, oh, it's just garbage football. It's a bunch of people that probably won't make the team anyway. But that might help you along the line in week 7, 8, 9 when the players that actually made the team are going to make a difference. Who knows? I mean,
I hate to break it to you, Phil. There's going to be more injuries this year than there ever is going to be.
You might be right about that. You might be right.
Players haven't even done the pre-OTAs. They've done nothing. They've gotten a book of plays on an iPad and a bottle of Purell. I mean, there's no chance. There's no chance that they're going to be ready to go. This is going to look like Pop Warner football. And I said it in my article. The minute you start seeing all these cases starting to pop up, you're going to see major players start to get hurt even more because there's not going to be protection. They're going to take things for granted. Baseball is already screwed. Baseball season's been 4 days old, and there's an entire team. Granted, it's the Marlins, and they suck anyway.
Well, and it's
they have there's 14 players. By the way, there's 9 players on a baseball field. All right, that means their entire team and some of the backups are all sick.
Yeah.
So that they have to take a week off. So that puts the Jacksonville Jaguars and Miami Dolphins on notice, in my opinion, because Florida's just a mess right now. So
Tampa too.
Yeah, Tampa too. Oh, Tom Brady. Yeah.
But I just don't understand, and I said this in the article. I don't understand how you can tell a team from New York, okay? I want you to go to Florida. I want you to stand in next to 75 guys and line up 5 inches away from another person who's spitting on you because he thinks that there's a competitive advantage of that, and he wants to get into your mind, and you go home.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, it's you fly home on a test tube and everybody's sick.
Well, I gotta say, in the NFL's defense, they're offering a face mask to go in the helmet. You don't have to have any exposed skin. Now, I'm not suggesting that there's not going to be some swapped sweat because it's football and you're bonking and the stuff's going to get knocked off and players' helmets pop off all the time. But in principle, they are making an effort to protect the players. Now, baseball had the problem, and baseball players don't have to touch each other. So I know that this.
Which leads you to believe were the Miami Marlins following the right protocols? Were they going out to strip clubs like Lou Williams did the other night? Are they doing things they're not supposed to, and therefore now they're paying the consequence? I don't know that.
To Bud's point, I think you're asking those players to fly down to Florida and have to go through that. You're also asking them not to do anything while they're there. Now, I know they're supposed to be flying in the night before and leaving the night after the game so that they don't have any downtime because you're not supposed to go out the night before a game anyways. So they're eliminating all the downtime in the host city to try to take that urge away. But these are 25-year-old millionaires. I mean, come on.
So would you feel more confident that a giant outbreak won't happen if there's either daily testing, every other day testing, or mandatory game day testing?
I don't know if the number of tests has any effect on whether the outbreak happens. I mean,
It doesn't, because that's what they're doing in baseball, and clearly that didn't work.
so Bud keeps saying the bubble thing. I've seen a bunch of ESPN guys stand up and say there's 0% chance the season's concluded without a bubble. The bubble protects people because it keeps them self-contained, and it inherently works in principle. I mean, there's obviously ways it can break, like the NBA guy go to a strip club, but if you
there's ways to do it. I mean, the NHL and the NBA have done a tremendous job, and their positivity rates are, I mean, they're basically zero. 2 NHL players, 3,000 players that were tested came back positive. Like,
no, I will
again,
say,
you have a baseball team that is traveling every 3 days, and on the first weekend, 14 players test positive.
but will you give it though? If the Marlins turn out to be the only team that has this problem after a month, is it just a Florida thing? Like, because I mean, it is the Florida team, and they've been the worst culprit for the last month, and those players are living there.
Wait. Did it happen in Florida, or did it happen in Philadelphia? Like where?
Philadelphia, which is why the Yankees game is canceled.
Well, but it's the Florida team.
No, well, that could just be, consequential or coincidental. I'm sorry. It didn't. Again, we don't know the facts yet. It didn't happen like it happened in the Miami Stadium.
Yeah, but none of the Phillies were sick.
Well, right. It could have just went through the whole locker room. Who knows? I don't think we don't have enough information on it.
I don't think anybody from the team that was there before them was sick. So
yeah.
No, I know what you're saying though. This is the whole contract tracing. So the NFL's got these little GPS devices that all the players are going to be wearing to figure out where they've been 24 hours a day.
Do they really?
Yep.
I didn't hear that.
See, that's the thing with these. My brother and I wrote about the NCAA, and they're screwed because they can't force these kids to do anything. But the NFL players are under contract. They can be forced to do whatever they agree to. And so they're going to wear 24-hour-day GPS so that if they go to a strip club, someone's going to know. And then they'll be kicked out. So that's their bubble. I don't know how effective it's going to be. I think the NBA guys have the same thing. The MLB's not using it.
I just think that the NFL, I think the NFL thinks that they're invincible to all of this, and they're just going to fight through, and they have a next man up mentality, which is, the tough guy approach. If they were to create 2 bubbles, and it's probably too late.
Well, hold up a sec, bud, because you're talking about 2 bubbles
single day, and still give everybody 7 days. Create 2 bubbles.
Okay.
And you had certain teams within those bubbles, and those teams played on specific days. Okay, right? So you have 3, and they play every Wednesday. They have the 1 o'clock game, the 4 o'clock game, and the 8:30 game. You still get 7 days off in between your games. And you could have football every single day. You would have contact tracing, and everybody would be able to play in the same stadiums, disinfected, and all the stuff is ready to go.
And you know what you could do is make it in Vegas, because not many people are there to begin with. I like these ideas. You got to imagine the leagues thought about it, but they really, like you said, they think they're invincible. They've not even put out any propositions of like what they would do in the case of needing to do it.
You could very easily pick a northeast section, and you could have football games at Rutgers, and you could have football games at MetLife Stadium, and you could just.
That's true. You're right. It doesn't have to be an NFL facility because no fans are going to be there. Now,
and these college facilities are NFL facilities.
Yeah.
You mean to tell me that the facilities at Michigan or Notre Dame are less than what the Jets or the Giants or the 49ers are dealing with? No way. Yeah. If not, they might even be slightly better because they have to recruit all these kids to come. I don't know. I just maybe I'm being a bit hypersensitive to all of it, but I just feel like there's the minute one team in the NFL. You only get 16 games. You only get 16 opportunities to play. It's not like the Marlins where you could postpone games for a week and you only miss 4 or 5 games and then you pick it up. I mean, if one team goes down, you're done.
If it's a whole team, I don't think it's going to be. I'm really getting the impression that once this starts, it's not stopping. And so if, for example, our New York Jets end up with 10 sick guys and they can't play, they're just going to give a victory to their opponent and the Jets will forfeit and they'll move ahead. I don't think that it's going to be, oh, sorry, the Jets can't play, let's all stop. I don't think it's going to be like that. I think that there's going to have to be forfeit rules. And I think, like you said, that you can't just not have the game be count. I think they're going to move ahead unless there's a couple teams. I mean, then you're really getting into tricky territory. How many teams forfeits really put a damper on the season? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. They haven't even shown up at training camp yet. So they're struggling to do that.
Well, they're supposed to be there today. I think today's supposed to be the first day of training camp.
Yeah. I haven't seen any pictures of you.
I don't think you're going to. I don't think you're going to see anything going on because the media is not even allowed there.
They don't have anybody on the team taking photographs for the team?
The Jets training camp is completely closed to only players and coaches and personnel.
Wow.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty closed door here.
So there's been a lot of discussion in baseball about the rule changes that may not go away, like the universal DH. You think this media blackout on training camps will stay in effect? Because I can only imagine teams are really going to like that.
I mean, it employs so many people that I think this is just I don't think it'll stick, though. The universal DH, that's probably going to stick because people have been clamoring for that for so long, and this is the perfect opportunity to use it. Now, is the MLB going to have 16 playoff teams next year? Probably not.
I hope that, man. They just all of a sudden expanded the playoffs, and I think that's garbage. But I guess the NBA, NHL, and NBA did it. So the NFL probably won't do that unless the season gets cut short.
Oh, well, so the NBA didn't do it. They're playing 2 weeks or 3 weeks of regular season games. Then they're doing the normal 16, right. 8 from the East. The NHL is the one that has the qualifying tournament and all this other, weird stuff that could actually be fun to watch, but we'll see.
It's not weird. It's legitimate playoff hockey, dude.
No, they're having a qualifying tournament before the playoffs, right?
What's weird to me is that I heard about this tournament so long ago, and then it still hasn't happened yet. And I'm like, I know it's coming at some point.
They start Saturday.
Saturday. So August is sports month now, which is cool.
Yeah.
But no NFL because we're on blackout. Except, are they doing the HBO Hard Knocks? I don't think so, but I don't know.
No, I thought I heard 2 teams. I don't know who it was, but I thought I heard 2 teams were on Hard Knocks this year.
Well, how are they going to do that? They're not.
Well, they're obviously going to allow the HBO crews.
That's what I thought I heard in passing. I haven't heard a lot about it, but that's what I thought I heard.
Safety first, right?
Yeah, safety first.
Money first.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to say I'm feeling good about the Jets heading into the season. I feel good about the season starting on time. I don't feel great about how the month of September is going to look for anybody. I don't know. So, Phil, you said injuries. September football is always ugly. Now we're going to get a lot even uglier version. With these guys have never played together, never played an opponent. How is this a good look? It's not a good look for the NFL. I'm sorry. I'm trying to figure out the best way to articulate how I feel about this. I want the football season to start, but it's going to look like a mess.
They're not even going to be in pads, Dan, for the first 3 weeks of training camp.
Like they don't have to be, though.
Yeah, but the first 2 days are just COVID testing, and then apparently it's just helmets and shells for 2 weeks, and then they're allowed to have contact. I mean, so you mean that these players, these rookies that have never been hit by a professional athlete before, they're going to go 2.5 weeks before getting popped, and then a week and a half later, they got to line up against a 400-pound offensive lineman. Please.
Yeah, but it's going to be as ugly as
somebody is going
your
to
current
fly
connection. I agree. I vividly remember football and like training over the summer and then showing up and my training was like I didn't do anything for the first couple of weeks, and then you finally get your first time hitting somebody, and it's like nothing you ever did before that mattered either, because if you don't hit physical contact with somebody for months and months and months, your body loves you for it, and then you do it again, and it's a mess.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a little sloppier for a few extra weeks until they get their feet under them. Listen, let's just hope we get the right ball, bounce of the ball in our favor, right?
Right.
Because I forget, I know the Giants play Tampa, but they don't play them until like week 7 or 8. So we can't catch them off guard with Brady, having no rapport with this receiver. So.
Well, how about the Jets going to Miami, then a bye, and then the Miami coming to the Jets? So I know that's later in November, but that's just asking for trouble now. What do you think about? Are you guys concerned at all about some teams like probably the Dolphins having fans at the stadium and other teams?
No. There's no way. There's absolutely no way. If one team can't have fans, there's no chance they're going to let any other stadium do it, because that's a huge competitive disadvantage.
Almost positive the NFL came out and said they will.
They said that they're going to do it. They said that they're going to leave it up to the states to dictate.
So New York just came out a few days ago saying there will be no fans in the stands until further notice at all.
Now,
so you're telling me fans can go to Green Bay, Wisconsin, or Arrowhead, where the decibel volume is off the charts, and that's going to help Kansas City. But Kansas City's going to go to some other team with no fans and have no fans, messing with their head.
So I can tell you right now. So currently in Los Angeles, you wouldn't be allowed in that stadium.
Right.
And I know that they absolutely want fans in that stadium.
Of course they do.
Now, I'm not expecting things to get better enough for them to have fans for the kickoff in the first week of September. But we basically opened everything within 48 hours. We went from saying nothing will open in a month to everything was open in 48 hours at the beginning of June. I can see the exact same thing happening to ensure that stadium is packed at some point in September. I'm not saying it's going to go well, but because of what you're speaking to, these teams are going to want to be able to fill their stadiums. And
no, I get that, but I don't see how you're going to let one team do something that another team can't. You want to talk about competitive balance? That's throw that right out the window. Kansas City prides themselves on a 104 decibel level, so the defense can't hear themselves think. So,
they could pump it in even if there's no fans, but. I expect Jerry Jones to try to fill his stadium because he's a nutcase. I just think some of these owners are going to do it, and it's probably going to exacerbate the problem.
I'm still very interested to see how that whole thing works. Are you only doing lower bowl? Are you doing every other seat? Are you doing every other row? Like, I have no idea how that's even going to work.
I think in baseball, the first 6 or 10 rows were off limits, so I'm sure they'll do the same thing in the NFL. Like, there's rules so that they can't get too close, the fans, to the players. But
listen, if I can pay money and put my face in the stands there, you won't see it because it's so high up. But is football going to do what baseball's doing?
Well, you're thankful. You're lucky as a season ticket holder that the Giants basically says you're not allowed there, right? Because
I don't have to pay. So I actually declined my tickets for this year without penalty of losing them. So
if they had made the opposite announcement, you'd be obligated to figure something out.
If what?
If they had made the opposite announcement and said we'll allow fans as they're able. Thankfully they didn't force your hand. I'm sure some teams are.
No, it was actually the complete opposite. But again, how do you determine who gets their tickets, who doesn't? The seats are literally half an inch from each other. How do you determine who gets them and who doesn't? That's just what a headache that would have been. So I washed my hands of it this year anyway.
Yeah. I don't know. There's going to be at least one pretty full stadium week 1. Whose team do you think it is?
I'm going to go with none. I'm going to say there's no fans week 1 at all anywhere. No way.
I'm going to say Dallas.
Yeah, I can see the Cowboys at least.
Colt doesn't exist in Texas.
Right. It doesn't, of course not.
It's just all make believe.
Now, we'd be remiss before we run out of time to ignore the fact that the Washington football team decided to name itself the Washington football team.
Are there that many trademarks that they're trying to legally get that they can't? I mean, are there that many names they can't come up with on their own? Call them the Washington Monuments. I don't know. Call them something. You know?
I mean,
that's what they're saying. They're claiming there's so many trademark things that they're trying to get around all the red tape, but you can't come up with a generic, Washington-based name. I
don't think that there's that. It's got to be ego. Like, I think he picked something, and the thing he picked, the guy already owned, and now he's upset. So he went with this thing. That's my opinion on Dan Snyder. So,
man,
it's just comical that is like, really, you couldn't just anything. Anything is better than naming yourself a football team. Like, that's just stupid.
Did you hear? I think I read something that they wanted to name it. I don't know. I mean, you read it on the internet. Everything's BS on the internet. But I guess they had filed a trademark for the Washington Sentinels. I read this.
From the Replacements?
Yes.
Like the movie, but apparently like the movie company owns that name.
Yeah. So maybe they'll end up buying it.
All need is Shane Falco to play quarterback.
I know. I mean, that'd be the best if they went that route.
If that's what they're fighting over, that one name, that's actually going to be hilarious.
So here's a real question for both of you on the Washington Football Club. Alex Smith was cleared for contact. Okay, let's say Alex Smith is okay. He takes contact. He plays well. Does he start? Because no. Dude, he's light years better than Haskins.
He's better than Haskins, but he's not more interesting for the fans. Like,
that's true.
Haskins is a runner. He's a sophomore. He's more interesting. If he fails after his sophomore year, Alex Smith's got the job. But
Dan, you're talking like owner and a finance guy. If your quarterback gives you a better chance to win football teams in a winnable division.
If we weren't talking about the Washington football team, I may agree with you, but I don't think the coach gets to make that decision for the Redskins or the former Redskins. I think that the owner gets to make that decision. And the owner.
Then why Ron Rivera? What is he, just a puppet?
When is Dan Snyder making a good decision? He's terrible at that decision making. He's drafted Haskins, who didn't look like a good pick last year. Now, maybe he'll prove us all wrong if you're given the opportunity, but if they just bench him, then they're admitting they made a mistake.
The best thing for Alex Smith is to not play, not get hurt, and then go to another team the year after.
Absolutely. Absolutely is.
Give him that week 16, week 17 game to show me still got it, then he can sign a massive deal somewhere else.
I mean, maybe Cam Newton blows up in New England. Maybe it's a one-year deal, but Alex Smith in New England is like Tom Brady 2.0. I mean, I don't want to see that. And so there's good places for him to land. I think he's a trade chip, if anything, for the former Redskins, the Washington football team.
You're going to have like a Redskin jar. Every time you see the name, you have to put $1 in it.
Well, there was a point last year where I made an attempt to not say the name because I knew that they should get rid of it. And it was so difficult. Oh, so difficult. How do you write an article and leave out the team name?
Well, you probably still say San Diego Chargers over there, right?
No, I'm pretty good about the LA Chargers because I'm scared of them. When I hear
LA Chargers signed Nick Bosa to $135 million, 102 guaranteed for a defensive end.
This is why they're playing football. They want their money.
Now, what do the Jets have to pay Jadeveon Clowney now?
It still boggles my mind like that he's been out there all year or all offseason and no one's even – well, I can't say I don't know this, but no one signed him to a deal. I don't know if he's had talks with anybody.
I mean, you can't hand him a 5-year contract. You can hand him a 2-year contract with a 3rd-year option. But if he wants long-term, why should anybody give it to him in this climate?
By the way, I know we have a minute left, but Dak Prescott playing under the franchise tag, I love it. I love it. He's going to get franchised this year. He's going to get franchised next year, and that'll be the end of it. He'll be out.
Then he'll move along. I don't see him there any way he stays a Cowboy.
No
way.
No.
Please don't go to the Patriots.
This is the beginning of the end.
Please don't go to the Patriots. The Patriots are interesting this season. I really hope Cam Newton doesn't become Cam Newton all over again.
We'll see.
Cape, yeah, he's gonna be flying with the Superman cape, red, white, and blue. No, we'll leave it. I don't have anything else to say. Stop.
No.
I can't handle already.
Hopefully, the next time we get together, there's more positive news to go over.
Yep, we'll be back in a couple weeks for a full-on training camp and a season.
A whole season.
Thanks for watching BuzzChomp.
Subscribe and share.
Subscribe and share.
Subscribe and share.
Share.
Woo.